What if I told you she still checks your profile, still scrolls through your pictures in the dark, still rereads that last message you sent, but you'll never hear a word from her? Not because she's over you, but because silence is her strategy. She's not reaching out, not because she's moved on, but because she's playing a psychological game where the one who stays quiet the longest wins. And if you don't see through that silence, you'll keep questioning your worth, stuck in a cycle of overthinking and emotional paralysis. But this video is going to change all of that. I'm going to break down the real reason she disappears, why she watches but never speaks, and how her silence is not strength, but fear in disguise. Most importantly, I'll show you how to use your own silence, not as a weapon, but as a tool to rebuild your frame, reclaim your respect, and rise without saying a single word. If you're ready to stop chasing answers and start becoming the man she regrets losing, subscribe to Stoic 95 right now and tap the bell icon, because the real transformation starts here. Let's begin. Number 1. The war she hides behind her eyes. She seems fine, doesn't she? Her laugh echoes through short videos. Her smile beams in pictures, polished and effortless. Her captions preach strength, growth, independence. On the surface, she's moved on, evolved, risen. But what you're seeing is the mask, not the woman, because beneath the filters and borrowed quotes, there's a quiet war unfolding behind her eyes, a war between what she shows the world and what she truly feels. When the noise fades and the night falls silent, you think she's forgotten you, that her silence is proof of indifference. But that's the mistake most men make. They confuse the absence of words for the absence of feeling. What you don't see is the moment when her head hits the pillow and her thoughts betray her. What you don't hear is the way your name still echoes when she's alone, because she remembers more than she'll ever admit. She remembers how steady you felt, how your presence made her exhale in ways she never could around anyone else, how your silence wasn't threatening, it was calming, how with you she never had to fight to be understood. And that kind of connection, that kind of safety, it brands itself into memory. It doesn't just fade with time, it lingers like unfinished music, sweet and painful in the same breath. But still she stays silent, not because she doesn't want to reach out, but because reaching out feels like surrender. And pride, for many women, is louder than pain. Pride whispers to her, don't break first, don't be the weak one. If he cared, he'd be the one to chase. So she watches, quietly, from behind the shield of a glowing screen. She taps your story. She scrolls through your photos, not to move on, but to remember, to feel you again in the only way her pride allows. That small digital echo of presence is safer than facing her own vulnerability. She hides behind smiles and routines, not because she's free, but because if she ever stopped pretending, if she ever let herself truly feel, she knows what would happen. The dam would break. So she performs, she distracts, she curates her life like a highlight reel for strangers, but her soul still stutters when she hears your name. And in those private, raw moments, the war behind her eyes rages hardest. And here's where most men fall. They see the surface and think, she's happier without me. They grow anxious, confused, emotional, and they break first. They send the text, they chase the ghost. And in doing so, they give her the closure she never had to earn. They kill the mystery, the power, the distance that was slowly growing in their favor. But you must not, because your silence isn't weakness, it's discipline. It's the quiet confidence of a man who doesn't need validation to know his value. You're not here to play tug of war with someone else's pride. You're not here to decode cryptic posts or battle for attention. You're here to build yourself, to become the kind of man who doesn't chase what walks away, but instead walks deeper into purpose. Stoicism teaches us to see things as they are, not as we hope they are. And the truth is, her silence may very well be pain in disguise, but that's her battle, not yours. Your job is not to rescue her from emotions she's choosing not to express. Your job is to remain grounded, clear-eyed, and unmoved, because when a man reacts, he's led by emotion. When a man waits for a text, he's stuck in the past. But when a man stays still, focused on his mission, anchored in self-respect, he becomes unforgettable. Let her watch, let her wonder, because the moment you chase, the illusion ends, and the moment you stand still, the power begins. Number 2, her silence is not strength, it's control. Most men misread her silence. They assume it's peace, that she's healing, finding herself, or letting go. But silence, when used by someone who knows exactly how it lands, isn't healing. It's control. It's not about distance, it's about dominance. When she doesn't block you, doesn't text you, doesn't even offer a goodbye, that's not absence. That's presence disguised as distance, because she knows what silence does to the male mind that hasn't mastered itself. She knows it'll replay old conversations, rewatch stories, revisit photos at 2 a.m. She knows that by doing absolutely nothing, she can still control everything. Your thoughts, your emotions, your sense of worth. That's not strength, that's strategy. You have to understand, when she goes silent, she's not being stoic. She's being tactical. She's gambling on a very specific outcome, that your mind will not survive the silence, that your inner world will break before hers does. She's hoping you'll reach out first, because that's when the power shifts. Not when she ignores you, but when you fold and confirm you're still waiting. That's when the game is won. Not through conversation, but through control. She doesn't need to chase you, argue with you, or explain herself. She just needs to wait long enough for you to chase the ghost she left behind. And when you do, whether with a message, a like, a story view, you validate her position in your life. She still matters, and she knows it. This is why silence is a test. Not of hers, of yours. Can you endure it? Can you sit in the discomfort without reaching for closure she'll never give? Because the moment you reach out, the illusion breaks for both of you. You think you'll feel better once you get it off your chest, once you ask why, or say I miss you. But all you're doing is handing her the frame. You become the one who couldn't hold the line. And whether she answers or not, she wins. Because your message does all the talking. It says, you still have power over me. Most men ignore this. They rationalize. Maybe she just needs time. Maybe she's hurting too. Maybe, if I just explain myself one more time, but these aren't answers. They're emotional bargaining chips. They're what happens when you haven't built a fortress inside yourself. When you still think closure is something someone else gives you, instead of something you choose to give yourself. Here's the truth. If she really cared to connect, she would. The same way she once chased you, called you, leaned in. That part of her still exists. If she wanted this, she'd act on it. So silence is not about capacity, it's about intention. And intention tells you everything. So what do? You do nothing. You stay still. Not because you're waiting, but because you've chosen not to play. Because you know this isn't about her anymore. It's about you, your discipline, your self-worth, your growth. You choose not to reach out because you respect yourself. Too much to beg for crumbs of validation from someone who chose distance over dialogue. That's the Stoic path. Calm not because you're numb, but because you're no longer ruled by chaos. Silence becomes your strength when it's no longer a reaction, but a decision. Let her watch. Let her wonder. Let her try to decode your calm. Because the man who holds the frame in silence is the one who commands the room, even when he's not in it. And if she ever returns, let it be on your terms, not from your desperation. Because a man who respects himself doesn't chase closure. He becomes it. Number 3, the illusion of her happiness. Let's talk about the show. You know exactly what I mean. The vacations posted like trophies, the endless parties where she's always surrounded by smiling faces, the new guy casually slipped into her stories as if to say, look, I'm over it. Then there are the captions, words like freedom, finding myself, or new beginnings, carefully chosen to suggest growth and healing. It looks convincing. On the surface, it seems like she's moving on with ease, glowing up, without you. But here's the hard truth, it's never the whole story. She wants you to believe she's done with you, that you're a closed chapter in her book. But real healing, the kind that changes you deep inside, doesn't need a stage or an audience. It doesn't scream from the rooftops or demand likes and comments. True peace is quiet, it's internal, unseen, often misunderstood. The louder she performs, the more she's trying to convince herself, not you. Because happiness, real happiness, doesn't scroll through old conversations at 2 a.m., replaying your words in her head. It doesn't need to check if you've moved on, or whose life you're living now. Genuine joy doesn't look back. It looks forward with calm certainty. You won't see the nights when the laughter fades and the crowd thins. when the music dies. Down and the room grows quiet. That's when the mask slips. That's when regret quietly creeps in, uninvited but undeniable. That's when she starts to wonder if she let go of something real, maybe the only man who ever truly saw her, beneath the noise and the performance. Most men don't notice this part. They're blinded by denial or trapped by hope. Instead of stepping back and letting her feel the weight of what she left behind, they reach out. They like a post, send a message, comment something hopeful or hurtful, begging for answers or closure that may never come. And in doing so, they rob her of that crucial moment of reckoning, the chance to sit with her own feelings, to face the truth without distraction. Your silence isn't punishment, it's permission. Permission for her to feel what she's been, trying to escape, the emptiness behind the act, the doubts under the smiles. It's an unspoken space where truth can settle and healing can begin, free from the distortion of noise and performance. So when she watches from the sidelines, scrolling your stories or glancing at your updates, let it be. Because you're not playing her game anymore. You're not chasing illusions. You're not here to validate her performance or interrupt her process. This is where your strength lies, in quiet endurance, in choosing your own peace over the chaos of reaction. Stoic insight. Control what is yours, your silence, your self-respect, your focus. What others choose to show the world is their burden, not yours. Let them wear their masks while you cultivate your inner fortress. In silence, you do not weaken, you sharpen. In patience, you reclaim your power. And in letting go, you gain everything that chasing could never give. Number 4, when you lose the game without knowing. Here's a truth that rarely gets spoken because it stings too much and cuts too deep. You don't lose when she walks away, or when the texts stop coming, or even when she starts dating someone else. The loss happens long before all of that, quietly, invisibly, in a moment so small that most men don't even recognize it as defeat. You lose the instant you reach out first after the break. Think about what your message really says. It doesn't quietly whisper, "I care." No, it broadcasts loudly, "You still have power over me." It's an admission, not of love, but of surrender. And whether she responds or not, whether she smiles at your message or dismisses it, with a roll of her eyes, deep down she senses it. She knows you broke first. And in that instant, the balance shifts irreversibly. The control slips out of your hands and slides into hers, in the invisible chess match of emotions. That moment is her victory. It's the subtle, quiet claim of power, where she becomes the one deciding the terms of engagement, and you become the one chasing shadows, trying to recover something that's already gone. This isn't about pride, it's about awareness. Most men don't see it because denial and hope cloud their judgment. They tell themselves, "One message won't hurt," or "I just want closure." But that small act speaks louder than words, and it changes everything. So when you feel that urge to reach out, the itch in your gut that says, "Maybe if I just say something," stop, pause. Recognize that this feeling is not weakness. It's a test of your character, your discipline, your ability to hold your ground. And the strongest men are those who pass this test in silence, because silence is not emptiness. It's strength under control. It's the calm that comes from knowing your worth isn't tied to her validation. It's the space where you rebuild yourself, free from the chaos of reaction and the turmoil of chasing. This is where you reclaim your power, not by forcing connection, but by mastering your own mind. Remember, control only belongs to the one who does not react to external whims. You cannot command her feelings or choices. You can only govern your own. True victory lies not in winning her back, but in winning yourself back, through patience, silence, and unshakable self-respect. In that, you become the man who stands firm, regardless of what is lost or gained. Number 5, the power of emotional discipline. There's a version of you she still remembers. The man who stood tall without needing to prove anything. The man who held his ground without begging for attention. The man who made her feel safe simply by being calm and present. That version of you is not gone. It's still alive but fragile. And it depends entirely on one thing, your choice not to destroy it with reaction, desperation, or impulsive reach-outs. Every time you resist the urge to respond to her silence, every time you refuse to chase what no longer serves you, you quietly remind her and yourself that you are not like the others. You don't follow the script written by fear or loneliness. You lead from a place of steady confidence. You understand that closure isn't something given by others. It is something you cultivate within yourself. This is the heart of emotional discipline. It's a lesson Stoicism has taught for millennia. You cannot control what other people do, how they treat you, or what they choose to say or not say. Your power lies only in how you respond. So, if she walks away, let her. If she chooses silence, meet that silence not with suffering, but with quiet strength. This is not passive acceptance, it is active mastery. Silence rooted in self-respect speaks louder than any words. It says, I am not here to abandon my own value just to be remembered by you. I am here to preserve my dignity, my peace, and my purpose. That is your real power, not in the desperate attempts to win her back, but in the deliberate, disciplined choice to honor yourself above all. Many men fall into denial or desperation because they mistake reaction for strength or chasing for love. But true strength is measured by restraint, by knowing when to hold your peace and when to speak. It is the discipline to stand firm in your own worth, regardless of what others do. Stoic insight. Remember, the only thing within your true control is your mind and your actions. When you master emotional discipline, you reclaim yourself from chaos and confusion. In the silence you keep, in the calm you maintain, you become unshakable, not because others recognize it, but because you recognize your own unbreakable value. That is the power that no one can take from you. Conclusion. If you've listened this far, it means you're not just another man scrolling through breakup advice, looking for quick fixes. You're stepping into something deeper, becoming stronger, wiser, and more grounded with every lesson, absorbed. Real strength isn't loud or frantic. It's quiet, steady, and built in the spaces where others fall apart. You're learning to rise in silence, to hold your ground without begging for answers or chasing shadows. Most men miss this. They react out of pain, denial, or desperate hope. But you have a choice: to live by impulse or to live by intention. This isn't just about surviving a breakup. It's about mastering yourself so deeply that silence no longer scares you but empowers you. Don't let this be another video you watch and forget. Own this knowledge. Live it every day. If this message touches something real inside you, support the mission. Subscribe to our channel Stoic 95, leave a like and comment, I don't chase, I lead. Because here we're building a brotherhood of men who don't react to silence. They master it. And when you master your silence, you become unshakable, unforgettable. Remember, control what you can, your mind, your actions, and let everything else fall away. That is true power.